The reaction has been dramatic. So what we're going to do is we are going to take apart the hot takes. First hot take we've seen after this exit, it's Ronaldo's fault. Mina, Cristiano Ronaldo criticism rife after the game, many pointing the finger at him. It's something that annoyed you.
Yeah, it's something that annoyed me because I've never been on board with this whole, like, if somebody or if a team wins, it's all Ronaldo. Like, even the comeback against Atletico Madrid, you know, the performance, whatever it is, he has rescued Juventus a lot of times. And sometimes it's always been, oh, well, if it wasn't for Ronaldo, Juventus would have lost. And I also think that it's very harsh to blame him for this. I'm not saying that he didn't make mistakes. I'm not saying that he had a terrible night of football. He had all of these things, but so did Demiral, so did Bentancur in the first leg, so did Pirlo with his tactics, it's a group effort to lose this badly to a team that went down to 10 men on the 54th minute. And I understand that as the leader of the group, who's being paid a lot of money and considered the superstar, the man that is supposed to take this team over the edge to win them the very trophy they have coveted now since 1996, then he is going to be the man to take all the blame, because otherwise what's the point in investing 360 odd million on this player if he's not going to win that title? But I also think that there comes a time where there's so many things to criticize in Juventus that blaming Ronaldo on it at this moment just seems so idiotic, frankly speaking. I understand why he'll get most of it, because he is the face of it, in much the same way Lionel Messi does when Barcelona keep getting thrashed in the Champions League. But I don't think it's fair, because why should others get away with what they're doing badly?
Isn't it funny, though, that the general consensus seems to be, at least from the journalists that I follow on Twitter, I'm just using them as an example, Barcelona gets knocked out and the message is, Messi doesn't deserve this, his teammates need to do better. And then Ronaldo gets knocked out and everyone's saying, no, they need to sell Ronaldo this summer. These are the two best players that we have been lucky to watch for the last 10 plus seasons. Players that are now in their mid-30s that need a better supporting cast. Cristiano Ronaldo is a much different player. He had to redefine himself. He's no longer the winger that can get by anyone with pace, and he's still been able to score a goal a game. He didn't have the best game. That's absolutely true. The fingers, though, need to be pointed at the top. I don't know if it's for clicks or for whatever that everyone's now saying, oh, Ronaldo, he's the problem. He's got to be sold. If Juventus want to reset, it has to be without Ronaldo. Okay, so let's say you do get rid of Ronaldo and you do clear yourself of that wage. Who are you going to get that's going to give you what Ronaldo does? Are they just suddenly going to say, we're going to get Erling Haaland? This isn't a video game. You're not just going to get Erling Haaland. You had your chance to get Erling Haaland for 20-25 million euro, and you blew it. Now, Erling Haaland's worth about €250 million. You're probably not going to get him because guess what? There's a ton of other teams that are going for the same player. So to just magically think that you're going to replace Cristiano Ronaldo with another once-in-a-generation type superstar is absolute nonsense. Not only does Ronaldo score a goal a game, he's also the symbol of the league. He's the face of the entire club and Serie A. He is the most marketable athlete in the world. He sells the most kits out of anyone. And players will look at Serie A and look at Cristiano Ronaldo's there, and it adds a ton of prestige for the league. Cristiano Ronaldo makes Serie A more valuable. This is the simple truth. And it's not like he's not doing well. He's scoring a goal a game. He had a poor game, but we have to look at it deeper. It's so easy to just say, oh, Ronaldo should have scored. He was going up against a Porto defense that was sitting back in a back five. There was hardly any room. The only way that Juventus could attack was crosses into the box, which you have to have luck. You have to, random bobbles happening your way. Pepe was back there. It was great in the air. He was snuffing a lot of those chances out. It's so short-sighted and honestly, to me, so ignorant to put this loss on Cristiano Ronaldo when it had to happen over the two legs, where we saw Bentancur, suicidal mistake, Mary Demiral, naive defensive penalty to give away. Honestly, I can't believe that we're even having this conversation, but this is actually something that's going out in the media. Like, people are actually blaming Ronaldo and saying they need to get rid of him. Like, I feel like I'm losing my mind right now.
Everybody wants to make everything simple. That's inevitable. And it happens every time anyone talks about sport. We get lost in headlines rather than proper conversations. And I don't think it's realistic or sensible to look at Ronaldo and go, you're the reason they lost this. It's ridiculous. As you've said, he's their top scorer in Serie A this season. He scores goals by the bucket load. I actually think it's a really important point you raised about his marketing value and what he brings to Juventus and Serie A. That is very real. And I've seen some columns this morning talking about the Ronaldo signing globally as a failure for Juventus. Well, what's your measuring stick? If you want to talk in sporting terms, we can be really clear cut on this, because this was not implicit, this was explicit. Agnelli said it, Allegri said it when he was still a manager there, others at the club said it out loud. We want to win the Champions League. And I do at this point think Ronaldo, personally, he's still there. It can still happen next season. I think he's not going to win the Champions League with Juventus. That's my opinion, and that's all it is. So if you want to judge it on that, you can call it a move that hasn't worked out. But if you want to judge it globally, then yeah, you have to take into account what it's done for the club's image, what it's done for the club's advertising deals, what it's done for the league's advertising deals. These are much, much bigger picture, and it's a much more nuanced conversation. I think that equally, the conversation about whether or not Juventus are best off proceeding with Ronaldo is a nuanced conversation, because it's not about whether or not he's good enough. He's scoring the goals. He's evidently contributing lots to that team. But you have built a team now that does not work for Ronaldo. You're trying to transition to this team that is younger, that is newer, that is going to play, as long as Pirlo is your manager anyway, a particular brand of football that, let's be frank about it, because I think we've danced around it at times this season. Pirlo does want his team to press high up the pitch. He does want to play that high tempo football. And sometimes lately, for instance, at the weekend before this game, they did it really well without Ronaldo. That doesn't mean Ronaldo's the problem. It doesn't mean that Ronaldo is a bad player. It means that you've made a team in which Ronaldo might not fit. And that's your fault. You have to plan as a club for how you're going to use this superstar that you've spent all this money into. So you have choices now about how to proceed with that. Maybe you think these personnel can still do it, or maybe you don't. But to me right now, it doesn't work. You've got two different teams.
No, Matteo,
can I just rephrase? Sorry, Mina. Can I just rephrase that? I don't know if it's more Ronaldo doesn't work for the team. I think it's more the midfield. And overall, the strikers don't work for Ronaldo. I mean, look at the player that they were trying to sign last summer. It was Edin Dzeko. Edin Dzeko has a lot more Karim Benzema than Alvaro Morata does. Morata's a player that likes to go with defenders. Dzeko's a player with a very good touch back to goal that can be a facilitator for the wingers like he has been at Roma, and who I still think is very underrated. So I think they had an idea of, right, this is the kind of player that needs to play next to Ronaldo, that will take the attention from the defenders. Alvaro Morata has been good this season, but he's not Edin Dzeko, and he doesn't have the characteristics of Karim Benzema, who Ronaldo had a brilliant partnership with. So Ronaldo.
So now this is Morata's fault?
No, I'm not saying
the guy
it's his fault
has delivered the
at all.
most
I'm not
amount of
saying it's his
assists
fault.
for
I'm just saying
Ronaldo.
that
He's delivered the most amount of assists for any striker. Like, how is this anything to do with him when they have a midfield that has not a single one ball player?
I wasn't blaming Morata at all. I just said Morata had a good season, but they're trying to find players that would work best for Ronaldo. So clearly they knew these are the kinds of characteristics of players that Ronaldo does the best with. That's why Morata was not plan A. He was plan B. Edin Dzeko was plan A. And I agree about the midfield. Like we've talked about this ad nauseum, that the midfield simply is not good enough. And you need to give Ronaldo a stronger supporting cast when he's in his mid-30s. Juventus didn't do that.
Okay, but I think that we have to discuss two things. Like, there's the sporting project and there's the financial project. And I think that somewhere along the line, these two got mixed up. And now we look at sort of the Real Madrid project, which was the Galacticos project. This is sort of the poor man's version, because we can only afford one Galactico in Juventus, whereas Real Madrid obviously afforded about a bunch, yeah? Now, if we're talking from a purely commercial, financial, my background is banking. If you look at what, the kind of coverage, the kind of value that Ronaldo has brought to Juventus, it is immeasurable. I mean, if you look at how many people go on YouTube and watch sort of the derby between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, it didn't even reach 1 million. If you look at the fact that Juventus Crotone gets on regular basis, like 4 million people went to watch that, much more than the derby, the Milan derby, it just goes to show you how much Ronaldo has brought to this team on a branding level. If you want to talk about success and branding success and the fact that Juventus's name is now mentioned around the world and people who follow Juventus or people who just follow Ronaldo come to watch Juventus, then he has been an absolute success on an absolute financial level. Everyone knows who they are now. De Ligt came a lot of the time because of the fact that there's Ronaldo. Players think of them. Haaland wanted to come to Juventus, but just didn't feel he was going to be given the chances up front. So I'm not sure that they entirely blew it, more rather the fact that he knew with players like Ronaldo up front, he might not get the chances that he wants to grow, to show himself, to be the top scorer for the likes of Borussia Dortmund at this level. But if we're talking about a sporting project, if you are going to bring in a Galactico, you have to be able to afford it. It's like buying a house in 90210 and not being able to afford a car to get around. There's no point having that, like that postcode. If you can't have Ronaldo and then fill it with mediocrity and just hope he continues to rescue you, you don't have enough money to employ a good coach. You don't have enough money to employ a midfield. It just seems like he's become a giant plaster, and the hope is that he'll just continue to rescue the side.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.